Hey, what's up? Wanted to hop on here real quick and take a couple minutes to answer a common question I get about testing because everyone loves tests. We all get our hopes up that the next test or this functional test or this test with this way this certain doctor interprets it is going to have the answers to our problems. But at the end of the day, they're all just wild goose chases that don't lead you anywhere useful. I'm not saying there's no point in any test ever, and certainly if it's a life or death, life threatening situation, of course get tests. Of course, get do everything. Or if you just want tests, go ahead and get them. I totally understand it, but I just want to point out a couple of things to consider so that those of you who are open to it can probably save some time and money if you just want to get to work on what needs to be done. So the reason by the way, I have training. I used to run all the functional tests, genetic testing, food sensitivity, hormone testing, all the fancy tests, functional blood work, out till kingdom come. All the fancy lab work you can think of. I used to run it on my patients and myself because it's exciting. It's cool. It had the promise of a lot of answers to a lot of unknown things. But at the end of the day, they're not necessary for these chronic health issues. And I'm going to go over a couple of the reasons why. Um, Before I get into that, like let's talk about something like Lyme disease or what gets labeled autoimmune conditions. If you look at like the testing for that, a lot of the lab testing, a lot of the times you'll see, that's not 100%, and we have to consider other factors as well. Your health history, your symptoms, other lab work, because you can't always rely on the test for Lyme disease to be accurate. It's like, what's how great is that? It's not that great. um, but moving forward, it's important to understand that doctors and science does not have all the answers. If we had all the answers, nobody would be sick, right? Or there would be cures for everything. That's why there's constantly new information flooding the health field. It's because everyone's still looking for answers because we don't know a whole lot about health as it stands right now in the traditional functional alternative health worlds. So that's one thing that we've been shown over the decades, over the centuries, is that medical information, medical recommendations, they keep changing. We're trying to play catch up. We're not leading the field. We're just trying to just trying to keep up, trying to keep everyone's heads above water, more or less. Um, but one of the issues is that with these tests, and I'm going to pick on food sensitivity panels because I see a lot of gut health clients, and this is like day one gut health stuff. Like, oh, you think you have issues related to your gut? You should take a food sensitivity panel. It'll tell you what you can eat and what you can't eat. But you need to be aware that all of these tests can only answer questions to what you know to ask. And that's at the best. And what I mean by that is, let's forget that if you send off the same blood sample to 8 different food sensitivity companies, you're likely to get 8 different test results. Let's forget about that. Let's say all other things are great and you get your results back and it says you're sensitive to eggs, dairy, gluten, strawberries, and spinach. Okay, well, if you've been following me for any length of time, you'll know that I'm on board with cutting out eggs, dairy, and gluten. Like, yeah, I think that's a great move. But I also say all fruits, all vegetables, all potatoes are healing foods that can be part of your journey forward. So then question becomes, well, why did strawberries and spinach show up on my test? Well, what can happen is that a healthy food like a fruit or a vegetable or a potato can show up, can trigger a positive on one of these food sensitivity tests because it's very effective at killing off a pathogen, a bad bacteria or a virus in your body. That can trigger a positive result, but they don't have any way. They're not looking for that. They're just looking for what triggers any type of immune response. And so you can be cut off for years or your lifetime of eating a food that's very effective at moving you forward. Strawberries and spinach, just a random example there, could be the two foods that you need the most to move forward. And you could be scared away from them for forever until you find this information that tells you, like, no, that's okay. It's another example is when people look at vitamin or mineral levels in their blood work. Like, is my magnesium low? My B12 is too high. Those tests are also very misleading. They can be, because the vitamins and minerals that are in your blood, they don't mean that they're the number one, the right type of B12 that your body can use. And they don't mean that B12 is getting into your brain and your liver and your nervous system where it actually needs to be. It could just be floating around in your blood, or it could be low in your blood, but your liver and your brain and your nervous system are doing pretty good. But they don't know to ask that question. And to get that answer, they'd have to biopsy tissue, which they're not going to do, understandably. So do you see what I'm saying, though? Like, there's a lot of issues with testing. And how I look at healing, we're all humans. We all have the same anatomy and physiology. We all have very different personalities and stresses in life, and we do have our differences. But at the end of the day, the human body responds the same across the board. And that doesn't mean that everyone can jump into, like, if you have a sense, like a bad reaction when you eat spinach and you don't feel good, that doesn't mean to just start eating it right away. No, you have to bring it in slowly over time as you're healing with other foods. But again, I'm all about making this simple for us, and we can cut out these tests that waste our time. Most importantly, I think it's just waste your time, because you end up spending months getting a test result, trying the protocol that goes along with the test, only to realize down the road, like, it's not working. So just some food for thought on those tests, and a little bit more insight into why I don't run tests on clients anymore for chronic health conditions. So thanks for tuning in. We'll see you.